Okay, I want to talk about something. I've been listening to. I'm a fan of podcasts. I've been listening to The Addictive Mind, and the episode from January 23rd, understanding the biomarkers of addiction, really is something that been on my mind, because how they talk about when some people can, and we've talked about this before, how some people can use all weekend long or whatever, and then they don't, and then say Sunday comes along and they're like, yeah, I gotta quit, I can't use this week, I've got work Monday or whatever. And the addict, we're like, what do you mean you gotta quit? There is no quitting. We don't quit. I mean, yeah, you may have to go to work, but you're gonna have to get high to go to work. And in this episode of The Addicted Mind, which it's a podcast I recommend, that's what they talk about, is how it's more than just genetic. It's more than just something that's wired into you. Because it may be into, and this is something that I've been interested in, is epigenetics. Anyway, it's more than just wired into you, because it may be something that, for lack of a better term, we'll just call it dormant. It's something that's not really triggered in you, but then maybe you have some kind of trauma, maybe a bad relationship, abuse, whatever the trauma may be, and it may trigger it. It may trigger a hormone in your body that will cause that part of you to come out. And then you find drugs, or you find alcohol, or whatever your drug of choice is. Doesn't matter, addiction is addiction. And then all of a sudden you are now in the throes of addiction. And you don't know how to get out of it. And once you're there, you're there. We know this. But the problem that I have with that is because that kind of leads you to believe, well, then I could switch it off. If you can switch it on, you can switch it off. So that's where I'm kind of like at a stop. I'm sorry, I don't really have an answer for that. I don't know how to kind of process that and make sense of it. It's like, well, if you can switch it off on, then you can switch it off, right? I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it's just common sense. But that does seem to be the case. So, with that said, I'm going to segue into what I was really kind of prepping to talk about here today. What I was really kind of prepping to talk about was, when we, as addicts, we have what we would call addictive traits or tendencies, or some people say an addictive personality. What that means is that for us, we go all in or not at all. We don't know moderation. We don't do anything half-assed. Everything we do is 1,000 miles an hour or zero. There is no in between. There is no moderation. But I'm also conflicted there too, because I'm like, well, to reinvent ourselves, to become a new person, you have to change. You have to become a new person. I mean, that's not a metaphor. That's, you do have to change your personality. You don't have to change who you are on the inside, but you do. Well, you do to a degree, but what you do have to change is what you do with yourself, how you conduct yourself, how you view yourself, how you act. Everything about you has to change, because if you don't change, then you don't change. So that's just common sense. Again, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, I'm working this out as I talk. What I'm trying to get at is I'm conflicted whenever I say we have to change who we are, which leads you to believe that, okay, well, Matt, what you mean is we need to change that addictive trait in us. I'm like, well, yes, but what if, that is truly just ingrained in us? But what we can do, and I'm torn there, and I don't have an answer. Okay, forgive me. I don't have an answer, but I do have a yeah, but. So, well, let's go with yeah, and. Okay, yeah, and you can use that to your advantage instead of to your disadvantage. Instead of focusing, because we know where all your attention goes is where your energy flows. So it's what you're gonna create in your life. So instead of obsessing over drugs, We can obsess over something positive. In my case, I can stand here in front of you today and say I am addicted to podcasting. And that's okay, because it's a healthy outlet for me. I'm able to help people by doing it. I'm contributing to the world. I'm contributing to my humanity. And if I help someone, if someone puts this on and avoids a relapse, wow. I mean, then this has been a very healthy addiction. This has been a very healthy redirection of my addictive traits, because that's why it's hard to get me to commit, and I'm sure that everyone listening is the same way. It's hard to get you to commit, not because you're afraid of commitment per se. It's because you're afraid of commitment because you know what it means. It means I don't do half-ass. If I commit to something, I'm in, all the way in, and I'm not gonna dabble in anything. We don't dabble, right? We don't dabble at all. We either do it or we don't. We do it to death or we don't do it at all. So, do you want to be an addiction counselor? Great. I guarantee, and I don't even know what the numbers are for addiction counselors. You know, maybe if they've got 250 patients who are phase 3 or whatever the case may be, then that's considered good. You know, I don't know what the goal is here. Now, let's say we set yourself a goal for 250. And unfortunately, there's going to be people drop off, you know. So you set a goal, I'm going to hit 250 phase 3 patients. And then you're going to have to maintain that. So you're going to add to it because unfortunately, some people are going to drop off. That's just how it is. But we're not those. We're not those people. When we're going to save more than we lose. That's the thing. We're going to save more than we lose. Or maybe you want to be a game designer. Maybe you just want to be a welder. Not just a welder. Hell, welding is a very good job, and it's very important, and it's a very good paying job. I mean, there's a lot of great jobs out there. But addicts, and that's what I always tell people: if you're hiring people, hire them. As long as they're clean, of course. Addicts, because they're gonna be the best employees you ever had. It's like some of the best cooks in the world are addicts. Now, granted, they're sober, and because they have focused their attention on their art, their craft now. Their craft is cooking, and they get really freaking good at it. Look at artists. All the greatest artists are what? Addicts. Why? Because they obsess. They don't just dabble. They do great work. They hone their skills. They perfect their craft. They put out great art that enriches people's lives, that makes people feel good, that speaks to people's souls. And this is why we have to remain as conscious as we possibly can. Because most people run around all day on autopilot. Most people will get up in the morning, go through their routine, drive to work, walk into work, begin working, and stop right at that point. Stop at some point and look back. Do you even remember driving to work? Really? I mean, you may remember something that happened on the road. Maybe some jackass cut you off or whatever. I don't know. But really, we go through so much on autopilot, we don't even know half the time what we're doing. When we use the word conscious, you're awake, you're not asleep, but are you truly awake? And that's where it can get dangerous for us, because that's when old habits can come back and can rear up on us. And that's why I always say, we've got to become more conscious. We've got to become more aware of ourselves throughout the day. I don't care if we have to set an alarm for every hour on the hour. And in fact, I think I need to start doing that. Every hour on the hour, your alarm goes off. And if you just stop and just focus on your breathing for 30 seconds, it would be amazing how aware you become of yourself and of your surroundings and of what's going on inside your head. Because we've got to guard our sobriety. We can't let it creep back in. We can't let something bad happen and then our past remind us, well, you always dealt with this way. And that's all subconscious. That's just programming. That's what you programmed yourself to do while you were in an active addiction. That's what I did. I didn't deal with anything. I had programmed myself. As soon as anything happened, I would reach for the dope, and it was automatic. It's like when we say we're going to not use. I'm not going to use, but you do anyway because it's automatic. It's what you've always. Well, maybe not always have done, but it's what you've done for the however long, and it's something we have to guard. We have to guard it. I've got well over 5 years. I'm coming up on 6 years clean time. And I'm not scared I'm going to relapse, but I'm aware of the fact that it could happen. And because nobody is foolproof. Nobody's completely safe. And anybody that thinks they are is definitely in a bad spot. It's definitely dangerous because you don't want to let your guard down. We need to become more conscious. We need to become more aware of, some people call it mindfulness, and that's fine. It's a buzzword. It's kind of trendy these days, and that's fine. Whatever works. I'm not a fan of trendy stuff, but at the same time, I'm very interested in consciousness. I guess it's just the word mindfulness. Whatever. Forgive me. So, whenever I think I am. Maybe we should all do that. Let's get our phones out and let's program an alarm for every hour. Maybe not every hour, maybe every 2 hours, whatever. It's just to bring us back in, to stop for a freaking minute, and be like, okay, have I been on autopilot for the past hour? Good chance you have. Good chance I have. And that gives us a chance to bring it back in and to really kind of focus back in and be like, okay, now I'm thinking consciously. Now I'm not just thoughts wandering in and wandering out. Or I'm just doing the familiar habits, old habits, or things that have been programmed into my brain. And that's one way we can definitely guard against relapse. That's one way we can definitely protect our sobriety. And also, while we've got our phones out, maybe we should look into our phone book. And if you've got a drug dealer's number in there, delete it. If you're saving that drug dealer's phone number, just delete it. You don't need it. You really don't. And you know you don't. Sometimes we just don't quite want to let go of that. But you've got to let go of that because that's who you were. It's not who you are. And if we let go more and more and more of who we used to be, of that person, then we become less of that person and more of this person. And this person's good. This person kicks ass at life. This person isn't weak and frail. But we live good lives. Yeah, right? Don't we? We have fun. I mean, if you're not having fun, work on it. I mean, do something. And it doesn't cost a lot of money to have fun. Go for a hike. Just where I live, there's all kinds of great places to go hiking. And if you really Google it or whatever, you'll find there's all kinds of really nice places. There's a place here right in the middle. And it's like right downtown just about. And it's a really nice little preserved nature place. And it's beautiful. But like when you're walking through there, you can like hear construction cranes and shit off in the distance. And then, well, really not that far away, but still, you can like hear the sounds of the city going on around you. And that's okay because it's still really nice. It's a nice little trail with, like mulched trail going through this very nice wooded area. And there's a waterway going through there, and it's just nice. And that's right in the middle of town. And then there's some other places that are just outside of town, 15-20 minutes drive away. And that's great. It's good exercise. You're gonna have your phone out. You're gonna take some great pictures. And you're gonna feel good after you leave there. And I know I don't get all sciencey on here. And I'm very interested in science. I'm very interested in the spirituality of science. But, on here, I looked at this so far, anyway, on this show is more of a spiritual connection, although I believe spirituality and science are one and the same. And, well, like Nikola Tesla said, the day science starts studying non-physical phenomena, they'll make more progress in a decade than they did in all the centuries since. or whatever. Maybe that's not an exact quote, but a lot of people know that quote. Nikola Tesla has the best quotes. But anyway, I don't get all sciencey and talk about the dopamine and all that good stuff. And even though, you go out and you do a nice hike somewhere, you're going to get a nice little boost of dopamine in a natural way and in a healthy amount. And I'm aware that I can get all over the place. I can talk about, I've been told I probably came out of the womb talking, and I can rant about one thing and completely switch over and be talking about something entirely else the next minute. Anybody who knows me personally is listening to this is probably laughing right now because it's absolutely true. But, that's why I'm doing other things. Like I write a lot. I'm writing a memoir. I'm organizing my escapades as while I was in active addiction. But, and I rant a lot. But so getting back to what I was originally saying, if you were to try to define the phrase of where attention goes, energy flows, addiction would be a great start. Well, what do you mean by that, Matt? Well, that is where it can get complicated. That's why I kind of wanted to come back around to this. I'm kind of torn. Like I said, I do believe that we can change, and we must change who and what we are. If we continue to be the person we were or are, then we'll continue to be the person who we were. So we have to change. We must change. So I'm torn when I say that addicts, by definition, have addictive traits or an addictive personality, whatever you want to call it. So, do we reinvent ourselves or not? Yes, we do reinvent ourselves. But I'm also going to go with this. Our addictive tendencies can then be used to our advantage. It can be used to do good things. We can devote all our energy. And we know we've got a lot of energy to devote. All the energy that we've devoted to chasing drugs, using drugs, whatever you want to call it. If we just redirect that same intensity to pick your cause. Maybe it doesn't have to be some big grand cause of saving the world. Right now we just need to save ourselves and restore our relationships. And in my case, get back in good graces with the IRS. Hey, it's a process. It's something we're working on, right? I mean, I did get back in good with my family. And kind of on a funny note with that, when we're in active addiction, they never give you money for the holidays or birthday. They always give you something else. And now I get money again. It's kind of cool. Like at Christmas, get a Christmas card with a check for $50 in it. Used to be, that would never happen. And I think anybody who's listening to this knows either you're on the receiving end or the giving end of it. But you weren't giving up no freaking cash, that's for sure. And I don't blame them, But at the same time, we've got people have ways. I mean, geez, I know people who would sell gift cards to pawn shops for 50 cents on the dollar. Give them a gift card to Walmart for $50, and they're going to take it to a pawn shop and sell it for $25. So that they can get cash out of it. Yeah, and if somebody's out there listening that's been giving people gift cards doesn't know they can do that, sorry. I don't know what to tell you as far as what to do as far as that goes. Maybe just take them out and buy them something. Or take them to dinner. If you've got an addict in your family, you don't want to give them money, you don't want to enable them in any way, and I'd certainly recommend do not enable them in any way. And if you don't want to enable them in any way, I guess just take them out and spend some money on them rather than give them something. Because addicts can be very creative. But with regards to redirecting our attention, one thing I redirected my attention to was a mobile app game. It's called Blaze of Battle. It's much like Clash of Clans and things like that. But anyway, I'm in the process of breaking away from it, I believe. But it served a great purpose because, when I was first new to sobriety, I had nothing. I had to cut all my ties. I had to cut, I didn't have anybody to hang out with, really. So what did I do? I just stuck my nose in my phone and I played that game. Did I kind of zone out and become unconscious? Yeah, I did. And now I'm really trying hard to not do that anymore. I'm trying to be as conscious as I possibly can at all times. And I'm cutting out a lot of the things that make me unconscious. But I would be lying if I said that game didn't serve a great purpose. It kept me from getting bored and getting lost in my head, and we know where that goes eventually. Old habits creep back in, and you think, maybe you go out and start looking for dope. I don't know. I know I didn't do it, and I'm pretty sure that game helped me with that. But, and that's great. It served its purpose, but I'm ready to move on from that now. I got a lot of things going on. I've got an amazing girlfriend. I've got this podcast, and I've got other things to direct my attention to. But we've got to find something to direct our attention to. We have to, because we've got a lot of attention to direct. And if we don't direct it at something, then something from our past is going to creep back in, and it's going to go somewhere. Something's going to happen. Our subconscious mind will make it happen. We're not going to just sit idle. We're not robots. We don't just power down. We don't hibernate. So that's why we've got to become more conscious, more aware of what we're doing in our heads as much as possible. I think that a lot of, if we could get conscious 50% of the time, 50% of our day, that would be huge. Huge. I'm not even sure what would be, I know that 90% of our waking day is what we would consider to be unconscious, where we're pretty much on autopilot. That's what we call it. We call it being on autopilot. And it's really funny when you kind of snap out of it. You kind of come to and you realize, and I've done it many times, you kind of come to and you become hyper aware of your surroundings, and you look around and you almost feel like, how did I get here? You know how you got there. I mean, you may have even had conversations with people, in the past 2 or 3 hours or whatever. But really, it's all just subconscious. It's all just automatic. It's all just what we would call our personality. But is it really our personality, or is it just who we've been programmed to be? And by programming, I'm not getting into some conspiracy theory stuff. This is what we programmed ourselves to be, or allowed ourselves to be programmed to be. So let's kind of commit to that. Let's take out our phones and let's program in once every hour, maybe once every 2 hours, I don't know, to have an alarm go off, to tell us to stop what we're doing, get aware of our surroundings, get aware of ourselves. Take 30 seconds and just breathe, but focus deeply on your breath. Really focus on breathing in and holding and breathing out. I recommend the box breathing. Box breathing is you breathe in for a count of 4, then you hold that for a count of 4. Then you breathe out for a count of 4, then you hold that for a count of 4, then you do it again. So it's in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, in for 4, That's box breathing, and it's a great way to get you, it's a great stress reliever for one thing. It's going to calm you down and keep you from saying something crazy to somebody who's been ignorant, but whatever. And it also is a great way to center you, bring you back in to your conscious awareness. So maybe we set the alarms for that. I got to do that. I'm going to do it. And if anybody who listens to this, I recommend it. It doesn't mean you don't have to be an addict. You can be whatever. I think it's something that we as humanity need to do. And also, I bet you even I could scroll through my phone right now and find I know I couldn't find a drug dealer's phone number, but I bet I could find an old friend who probably doesn't even have the phone number on anymore, but whatever. Well, I mean, any numbers I have that are drug related are going to be like 6 years old. But anyway, my point is, just symbolically to myself, I'm going to scroll through here and I'm going to find a number of somebody that I knew from drugs, and I'm going to delete it. And I'm pretty sure that anybody listening to this can do the same thing. Actually, I do have a number. Well, I'm not going to use names. Besides, he's He passed away from an overdose anyway. We'll call him Joe. So I'm going to delete Joe's number. Obviously, he's no longer with us. It's not really going to... It doesn't do anything. But symbolically, hopefully I'm encouraging someone to go ahead and delete a number. Delete a number for people who you don't need around. Delete a number for somebody, if you were to have just a crap week and you go completely on autopilot and your subconscious brings up, well, you always dealt with things this way. But just because it's the new us, this is how we are now. There was that, and now this is this. That person kept all the phone numbers. That person always kept something on the back burner, just in case. This person doesn't do that. This person does not. This person is excited about the future. This person has already redirected their attention to something else. Usually it's something in some kind of art. That's fine, because it's a creative outlet. It's something we can really zero our attention in on. And it's positive. It's impacting humanity in a good way. Lord knows we owe them. We owe them a lot. All our crap we've done to just to the world. All the crap we did just to the world, we owe them. Well, okay, maybe we don't owe them. But we definitely need to start contributing in a good, positive way. We definitely need to start making the world a better place, right? Like whenever I first got sober and I talked to my kids, who are now adults, young adults, but nonetheless adults. When I first kind of came to them, I humbled myself and I came to them and I told them I was sorry. And I had already realized at that point, I can't make up for the time that we had lost. You just can't. Because if you try to make up for the time, you're always going to be behind. And they were, God, they were amazing. They understood. They understood that we could not make up for all the time we had lost, but that we could move forward from here. Let's start right here in this moment and go forward. And you're just going to have to forgive me, because I can't make it up to you. So with regards to owing someone, you really can't make it up. Owing someone is kind of making it up to them. You can't really make it up. We can only start from here and go forward. And I told my kids, I was like, listen, I understand if you can't forgive me. I understand if you're just like, Dad, it was just too much damage and I just can't do it. I love you, but it's going to have to be from a distance because I just don't trust you. I would have understood that. Yes, it would have devastated me. But thankfully that didn't happen. Thankfully. But they were amazing. They were just amazing. And that's the thing about the people that love us. They're just freaking amazing, aren't they? People for the most part are good. People who love you just want you back. They don't want you to make up for what you did. You can't repay them. And they're like, fine, if we can start from here and move forward, let's do it. And I have a great relationship with my kids now. And they're so awesome. Maybe they'll listen to this. And they're like, oh, Dad, whatever. It's fine. It's cool. I'm watching them. They're both young ladies. My oldest is, God, she's amazing. She is 22 years old and has a great job. She does really good things. She's doing great things with herself. She didn't want a roommate, so she's got her own place all by herself, taking care of business. And I look at her and I'm like, wow, she's only 22. When I was 22, if I didn't have a roommate, I was screwed. As a matter of fact, I think when I was 22, I might have been living at my mom's, but I'm not sure. So maybe I sound like a broken record, but whenever I say, let's decide what we do not want to be, and that's pretty simple, what we don't want to be anymore. And then let's put that baby to bed, and then decide what we do want to be, and then be it. We've got to just be it. You don't work at it. We don't try to do something. We just do it. And if you think about it, that's what we've always done anyway, isn't it? We didn't try to be a drug addict. We just did. And I know it's a lot easier said than done when you're not, when being something else. But is it really, though? Is it really easier said than done or not? Or is that just something we're part of our programming? Maybe we need to change our whole belief system. Whatever we decide we want to be, let's be it and move on from here. Move forward from here. In fact, that sounds like a great podcast episode. I think that may be coming up very soon, if not next. Just start from this point, move forward. I think I'm going to end this here. Thank you. This is Matt Stevens, and this is my sober addiction. I love you all.